When veterans leave the service, they often feel like civilians just don't get them. And here's a bunch of reasons for why that might be, and some of these things are just wildly unrelatable to civilians. The first one here is no privacy code. Imagine being 18 years old and changing in front of 60 grown men. That's boot camp. Imagine showering with 60 people where you wagon wheel, you walk through the shower with a bunch of showers open and you just nut to butt. Imagine taking a crap with no stall door and maybe not even walls and you're just in an open area. That's boot camp. Like, everything in the Marine Corps is just not privacy. Like, everything you do is public, loudly public. Even to the fact that you may have people go through and do barracks room inspections and find out things about the most intimate parts of your life and how nasty you are. So you become pretty open to just about whatever, and things that would never have been normal, commonplace in your life now feel like it because you're on the ins and outs of everybody's personal business all the time. And you get really good at performing under pressure because there's no escape. Like, I've heard civilians complain about working in like open cubicle office spaces, and I'm like, dude, we worked like on the floor sometimes in just open squad bays. So number 2 here is sleep debt. You become incredibly good at functioning with zero sleep, right? Like, getting 4 hours and then performing is normal in the military. In fact, there's times where you might have like 8 hours, but you got woken up in the middle for fire watch.
Hey, dude, wake up. Wake up. You got fire watch.
Like, even now, there are times where I'll go to bed at way later than I meant to because I'm doing whatever, watching, doom scrolling, whatever. And then I still wake up. Like, it's not like, oh shoot, I'll just sleep in. I still wake up, right? Like, it is what it is. And so functioning on 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours of sleep in a lot of instances, like especially when you're deployed, can become kind of normal. And you get used to just dealing with it, which is not normal nor healthy, but we get good at it. And the phrase, I can sleep when I'm dead, becomes commonplace because it's real. Number 3 is pain shutdown, pushing through things. You hear this, there's like a trend in the world these days where everybody's got something wrong with them. It's like cool to have a broken this or a twisted that or a mental this or a whatever. Like, it's almost cool to have things wrong with you. And in the military, you push through that crap. Like, guys with shin splints for weeks going through boot camp, or they up their feet, or I had guys finish hikes with blisters like this. When I tore my PCL, it was in a ruck march. We were coming down a steep hill. The guy in front of me tripped. I went over him and I landed on my kneecap. And I mean, it was like instant. Something was wrong. And we were like 3/4 of a mile, maybe a mile from finishing that hike with 3rd Marine Regiment out in Hawaii at the time. And the safety vehicle was like just about full because a whole bunch of people had been tripping and falling and busting their butt. And I was stubborn. I was like the back end safety guy. And so like, instead of getting in the truck like I should have because I knew something was up with my knee, I actually ended up finishing the last 3/4 mile of that hike. And I did so with an extra person's pack, like balancing like a T on top of my pack because it wasn't going to fit in the truck with him. So we had to get him in the truck. And I finished the ruck as like the dead last person to finish with somebody else's ruck on hobbling. And then 3 weeks later, I'm in Bridgeport doing a snowshoe hike and my MRI results came in and said, hey, you've torn your PCL, you need surgery. And like, that was it. You just push. That was like the norm unless there was proof. And you learn to separate discomfort from danger, which is good to a point, but it can be dangerous when you push through things and make injuries worse long term. Like, I've seen people call in sick with colds and this, that, and the other. And I remember like running fitness tests, still drunk, let alone hungover on like minimal sleep. Not saying that that's a good thing, but like, that's the military culture. You're going to run the test. Number 4 is Emotion Lockbox. You get really good at stuffing. Like, you watch somebody die, you're back at work the next week. You get served divorce papers, you're back at work the next week. Like, things happen and you're at work and people say, you good? And you go, yep. Like, all good. Emotional suppression, decompartmentalization, whatever you want to talk about, it becomes a survival tool. You get really good at it. We also get really good at like dark humor to ward off against terrible things that happen. But like, bad stuff happens. Like, my grandma passed away while I was in Afghanistan. I found out about it 20 minutes before we went out on patrol, and we went out on the patrol and that was it. It's just what you did. Number 5 is the food roulette, i.e. whatever MREs left over is what you get. Like, half the time, it wasn't even like, MREs are bad enough, but there are a couple really good flavors and then a couple not. Like, if you're old enough to have ever had to have the veggie omelet, I apologize for all the trauma that probably caused you. That MRE was terrible. There are some good MREs, there are some less than good MREs, and what happens on like deployment is somebody just grabs a box and starts throwing. You get one, you get one, you get one, you get one. Or hey, your rations are 3 for the hike, or 4 for the weekend, or whatever. And you get whatever you get, and then you kind of just trade pieces with people, and you're like, who's got peanut M&Ms? And then they're like, who's got wheat bread with jelly or whatever, and you trade crap back and forth, and you hope you got decent MREs, and you ate because you needed fuel, not because it tasted good, not because you were hungry, not because you wanted it, but that's just how it was. Now I'm obviously a little softer and a little bit bougier, so I've complained about the ambiance in a restaurant before or whatever, but it makes me chuckle to think back to like eating beef stew cold with a spoon sitting in the sand, just like I'm like, whatever, man. 6 is instant obey to orders. When you get real orders, you go. You don't question. You don't get to like, oh, I don't want to. Like, you get told you're deploying, you're deploying. You get told you're going to the field, you're going to the field. You get told you're going to Dubai, you're going to Dubai. You get told you're going to the rifle range, you're going to the rifle range. Like, you do what you're told because that's the way the military works. Instant obedience to orders. So, in theory, we have less meetings. We just do things. And you don't get to really have a say or an input into like what things those are until you get older and further along, and then you start getting to make some of those decisions for people. Number 7 is your gear curse, right? Like just getting used to carrying excessive amounts of weight and crap everywhere. This feeds into veterans joke about this. I joke about this. Like veterans have an uncanny ability to overpack for things. It just is what it is. It happens. And this feeds into that is you're going to carry, 3 days worth of water, 3 days worth of chow, like all of your equipment. It was not uncommon to carry 60, 80 pound rucks. And then you've got your flak jacket, your Kevlar, your rifle hanging off you, like whatever. You might have 100 pounds worth of gear, right? It's actually funny. I went to Alaska this summer and we did not a ton of backpacking, but a little bit of backpacking. It was more like we got flown in and then we did like day treks all over this middle of nowhere national park. But for at least some of that, you still had to carry your actual backpack. And I was laughing because like the way that we pick our backpack up, and so you can like throw 60, 80 pounds up like that. And it was funny because I did that. Like didn't think anything of it. I just boop my backpack, and my uncle, my aunt, and my brother and a couple other people there were just kind of like, okay, Mr. Strongman, like laughed it off, like what in the world? And I'm like, oh, this is just normal. Like, people struggle with how to put on their rucks and whatever. We just throw it up over our shoulders and walk under it and take off. And you get used to carrying a ton of weight and crap around. You don't have to worry about the ergonomic laptop and desk and things, and that's just life. Number 8 is the death stare. Just intimidating without words, just learning how to watch every environment, always being observant, constantly checking your surroundings, situational awareness and just knowing what's going on. Same reason that a lot of service members and vets sit with their back to a wall in a restaurant. They like to pan and have an idea what's going on. That death stare is just glaring at people when things go wrong. Like this whole aura that kind of comes with like just being cognizant and being confident. It's a lot for some people. It often comes off looking like resting face, but it's just intensity. It just is what it is. Number 9 is a time warp. It is 0-4 forever. It is the ability to wake up early, even when you don't need to or don't want to, and you turn off an alarm. It is just a force of habit. Remember when I said sometimes I'll stay up way too late and then I'm still awake? That's what this is. It just ties into this where you're just up because up is what's required of you. And 10 is the Brotherhood Bond. Most people will never really understand this. Maybe some collegiate athletes or some athletes will, but most people will never understand the idea of like being willing to die for your squad mates, like showing up when you are asked to show up, driving at 2 a.m. to pick someone up drunk from a bar because you don't want them to drive and they called you, driving to drop somebody off somewhere, like all kinds of chaos all the time because you care about your other, the service member, man or woman behind you, next to you, whatever. That's something that I feel like a lot of people don't understand that. Like they say ride or die, but they don't really understand or mean it. They don't know the levels that we would go to even today for people we served with 10, 15 years ago, right? There have been people firemen carried back onto base drunk. I once I'm not going to name any of these guys. I once handcuffed somebody to their rack so they would stop being an idiot before they got in trouble one night. I've gotten in brawls to defend a friend's honor, right? We do some crazy stuff, and it's hard to replicate or explain that level of camaraderie to people who haven't been through it. It's basically trauma bonding. You go through enough crap together and you've got each other's backs for life. And you're never going to experience the intensity of brotherhood that's forged under shared hardship anywhere else. That's why when we went to Guatemala a couple years ago, my buddy Alex and I decided to start that trip by trekking up a volcano and spending the night in the cold up on top of this volcano to watch it erupt. It was really cool. It was beautiful. It was all the things. It was also incredibly challenging and a very uncomfortable night. It was cold. It was windy. It was mucky. It was just not, it was shared suffering. It was the hardest single day hike I've ever done in my life. And that group of people got very close because of it. And that's why vets struggle with isolation when we get out. It's very hard to replicate any level of bond like what you had in service after service. And when you've lived that life, it's hard to go back to like surface level interactions. So if you're a vet, which of these hit hardest? Comment in the chat. And what I miss, what do you think as a vet you understand or you went through or you had experienced in the military that civilians just will never understand, right? Like, we're built different. Why do you think that is? Let me know in the chat. Let's hear it out.